Jake Paul fought yet another washed up, retired boxer in his late 30s, early 40s, and won. But the big story is that Julio Cesar Chavez, just days after fighting Jake Paul, has been arrested and deported from the country by ICE. Now, if you guys are unaware of all of the ICE things that have been going on, especially in my area, I live in the Los Angeles area. They've been happening frequently. It's one of the more talked about things in the LA area right now is all of the deportations and detaining of people in Southern California as a part of Trump's deportation efforts, which was, one of his campaign promises. But where it says here by Happy Punch, Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. was arrested by ICE for his reported expired visa and warrant in Mexico for alleged ties to the Sinaloa cartel trafficking firearms and explosives. And this is the video of him getting arrested.
¿No me search? Tengo gloves on if you want me to. ¿No tienes algo, zapatos?
No.
¿Pocillos?
Nada.
¿No tienes nada?
Mi celular aquí en la bolsa de atrás.
Aquí has a cell.
No tienes nada contigo, ¿no?
He has pockets in the front of the jacket. I know when you're ready, dude.
No le informan a mi abogado lo de cuando ya tengo una orden. Te vamos a llamar.
So he says he didn't know that he had a warrant. Many people are speculating that ICE actually was planning to arrest him and waited until after the Jake Paul fight, which is pretty wild to me. After the deportation, Jake Paul went on to say Canelo is next, which has many people thinking that Jake Paul had something to do with Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. getting deported. I'm not saying that's what happened at all. But what I will say is that Jake Paul was at the Trump inauguration. If you guys remember him being on the same bus as Conor McGregor. And I know he's just a celebrity that supports Trump that got invited to the inauguration. But it's not a crazy reach for me to speculate that he may have made a phone call that said, hey, wait a minute, let me get this fight off, snatch him up next week. All I'm saying is that would be a very Jake Paul thing to do, in my opinion. Now, they bagged a large sum for this fight. This says that Chavez received a base salary of $1.5 million for the fight against Jake Paul, and he got a maximum payout of about $2.5 million based on pay-per-view bonuses and revenue. Now, I'm pretty certain that he probably didn't get a performance bonus for the pay-per-views, because while I can't confirm this, the reported number of pay-per-view sales or pay-per-view buys that has been going around is that they sold 38. Literally less pay-per-views sold than people that watch my live streams. And I saw people saying, I watched it illegally and I still felt like I got robbed. I'll be honest, I did not watch the fight. I am not going to watch Jake Paul versus a retired boxer over a UFC event. And why the hell did Jake Paul decide to go head-to-head with International Fight Week, Ilia Topuria versus Charles Oliveira? That's like almost the same, not the exact same, but a same level comparison when you consider Topuria and Oliveira being massive names fighting each other in the main event, and it's International Fight Week. That's pretty close to Jake Paul thinking that he can go head-to-head with McGregor on the same night, which is obviously not the case. Now, I don't know if it was 38. I can't confirm, but this is the number that I see floating around on social media quite a bit. The reason I speculate about 38 is because that's so disgustingly low. But the reason I might actually believe it is because who the fuck is going to pay for a Jake Paul fight at this point? Especially after the whole Mike Tyson debacle where they went out and sparred for 6 rounds or whatever it was with 16-ounce gloves. Jake Paul's hype is gone. And who's funding this? Julio Cesar Chavez makes somewhere between $1 million and $2.5 million. Jake Paul probably bagged $5 million for this fight. Who is signing up to promote this and lose all this money? Like, it's Jake Paul. There's no way Jake Paul is putting up this money by himself. I know they have, you see Fansly right there, and Jake Paul has several brands that he's tied to. I just don't understand. Whoever it is as the promoter, maybe it's this Nikisa guy that Jake Paul is in business with, getting some funding from the Middle East like Dana is. I mean, I really don't know. 38 pay-per-views is fucking brutal, considering that they got paid as much as $2.5 million. And Jake Paul's fought in Saudi Arabia before, as you see right here. He fought Tommy Fury in Saudi Arabia, so they very well might be getting funding from the Middle East, which wouldn't really surprise me. Now, something that I found very interesting about this arrest and the fact that Julio Cesar Chavez literally got deported by ICE, which is Donald Trump's effort. If you go to Julio Cesar Chavez's page, you click following, you type in Trump. You got Trump Jr., Trump Golf, Laura Trump, Tiffany Trump, Ivanka Trump, Trump fans, White House 45, Team Trump, Kai Trump. For a guy that literally follows over 10 people, or 10 accounts related to Trump, whether that be political pages, personal pages, family members, whatever it is, he follows them. So he supports the cause, and it's the cause that ended up getting him deported from the country back to Mexico on active warrants. I'm not saying I have an issue with him or Trump or the fact that he got deported because he had open charges. I'm just saying it's an interesting piece of information to come across that he got deported by Trump, essentially indirectly deported by Trump because it was ICE, and he's a huge Trumper. Kind of interesting. Now, why Jake Paul decided to go head-to-head with the biggest company in combat sports with their biggest name right now, Ilia Topuria. Jake Paul, who is in a sport that's dying, almost no fan base at this point above like high schoolers. I don't even know who Jake Paul's fans are, to be honest. Decided to go head-to-head with them. It just sounds like typical boxing, going out of business sale type of business plan, and Jake Paul fighting yet another can at this point because they're old. Now, another massive story in boxing is that Jake Paul was actually ranked 14th in the world at cruiserweight by the WBA, which allows him as a ranked fighter to challenge for a world title, or at least the WBA world title. And it got so much backlash, his ranking. Ring Magazine put out an announcement that said, due to heavy criticism and outrage from other ranked contenders, the WBA will review Jake Paul's cruiserweight ranking at their upcoming convention in Madrid, which takes place from July 15th to 18th, so in about 2 weeks. Now, what's really interesting about this is that he got this ranking because he's a name that gets talked about in the sport. Well, I could probably look at the other 14, 15 guys and not know who most of them are. I looked at them. I think the only one that I was familiar with was Badu Jack. The rest of the guys who have probably 10,000 Instagram followers because they don't sell tickets. I mean, technically it doesn't look like Jake Paul does either, but people with small names that don't have the notoriety that Jake Paul has, getting upset that he's going to leapfrog them for a title shot because of his name. And so it was so bad that they actually might get bullied out of ranking Jake Paul. And Jake Paul basically will have nothing that he can do about that because the governing body would have literally gotten bullied out of letting him fight for a title. It's actually wild stuff. So although Jake Paul's boxing career seems to be on its last legs, I can't imagine them doing many more with him selling 38 pay-per-views, if that's the actual number. With Jake Paul's boxing career kind of puttering out, at least he's getting some headlines here. He also threatened to sue anybody that claims his fights are rigged or fake or anything like that. I mean, some of you guys might remember that Tyron Woodley knockout. It did not look real to me, as somebody that's literally fought myself. And here is Nikisa Badarian, who is Jake Paul's assistant, co-founder of MVP Promotions. This claim is baseless and irresponsible. Last night's fight versus Chavez Jr. was a fully sanctioned 10-round cruiserweight bout officiated by the California State Athletic Commissions with official judges, no rigging, no staging, just hard work, blah, blah, blah. And Jake Paul says, after years of letting it slide as just haters being haters, I have asked my team to go vigorously after anyone who makes up lies about my boxing career. Expect to get served, you pigs. Now, the reason he probably won't sue anyone, although this is a big threat to make, the reason he probably won't sue anybody is because there's going to be a discovery phase if they go to court. And that means all of Jake Paul's contracts are going to be public information, or at least public to the people involved. That means business dealings, whether or not these things are rigged, if they offer boxers money to lose, etc. Sponsorship deals, Jake Paul's contracts, all of them related to boxing are going to come to light during discovery if they decide to go to court here. No actual lawsuits will get filed by Jake Paul, in my opinion. This is a crazy timeline that we're in. This type of stuff, Trump in the White House, we're on a wild timeline, and I usually don't cover stuff like this, but here we are. I'm talking about Jake Paul boxing and deportation. That's what happens when the UFC skips a week, you know? I think that this is all just show to build up something for his next fight because it didn't sell, except for the deportation, because that's not fake at all. That's actually real. I mean, ICE said on July 2nd, ICE arrested Mexican boxer and criminal illegal alien Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. He is now being processed for expedited removal from the United States. This Sinaloa cartel affiliate has an active arrest warrant in Mexico for his involvement in organized crime, trafficking firearms, ammunitions, and explosives. Under President Trump, no one is above the law, including world-famous athletes. Our message to any cartel affiliates in the U.S. is clear. We will find you, and you will face consequences. The days of unchecked cartel violence are over. So that's real. But all this other stuff of 38 buys, I mean, the lawsuits and all this stuff is really just talk to drum up something for his next fight, like some sort of attention, because 38 buys, if that's true, is some of the worst I've ever seen, probably the worst I've ever seen. So let me know your thoughts down below. What do you think of Jake Paul's boxing career? Do you think he ever transfers over to MMA? Let me know your thoughts down below. I'm Wyatt, and this is Fight Society. Did you like this video? Then like and subscribe down below. I also do multiple live streams per week, along with behind the scenes content and members only live streams for our channel members. So become a channel member for access to bonus content. It's only $5 per month, and it greatly helps the channel's growth. I also do a podcast with my best friend Bo, and I have a non-MMA channel as well called Wyatt's World. You can check both of those out linked below.